buddies, you look to your friends.
There's only a couple guys in the whole world that make me love pro wrestling, and you're one of them.
You know, all the bad shit you've heard about us, it's all true. But another thing that's true is we love professional wrestling, and that's why we're here. I'm not sports entertainment anymore.
Talk to him, kid.
This is a new beginning, and it starts tonight.
A new day is dawning for DX.
Know who you're talking to?
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, people. I'm your host, Shawn X-Pac Waltman. Today's a good day.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, man, it's a really good day. A little bit later, we're going to have an interview with Dr. Shawn Stasiak.
Amazing interview.
Yeah, we actually already did it. And it was great. Actually, it was really fun, man. We had a great time with that. And,
Amazing.
And everything. But before we get to that, talk about a couple of things. First, this morning, got up bright and early, baby Lula and I, and we went over to Ron Funch's and then on over to the studio where they tape Get Dug with High.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, a little tongue twister for me there. And it was great, man. We had a great time, and I'm pretty sure, like, man, that's a big deal. Yeah, and he also does Doug Loves Movies.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, and I mean they're pretty big deals.
Yeah, he's got lots of irons in the fire.
Yeah, yeah, and he's a great guy.
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, and he's a born again wrestling fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Did you rejuvenate his wrestling love at Get High Watch Wrestling?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Awesome.
Huh. Yep. Yeah, it was,
born again
fun.
wrestling fan. Nice.
Is that the right way to put it?
It
Of course, it's the right way of putting it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, and okay, and so people might notice that was I wearing this last week too?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, well, that's because I still don't have my suitcase back
Oh, no.
from LAPD from when
my
I got
gosh.
arrested a couple weeks ago. And so, like, you know, everyone knows that, well, everyone that cares knows I didn't have my wrestling gear for the Cow Palace show. Well, I still don't have it, and I still don't have a lot of my favorite clothes. Because I always travel with my favorite stuff, and I leave the stuff I don't like. So I got a closet full of stuff I don't like to wear right now.
Wow.
Except for this shirt.
Yes.
That No Days Off, Darren Young, homie.
Headquarters clothing.
Yes. Anyways, I talked about this before, and maybe a lot of people might have thought I was just saying that. Oh yeah, whatever. I'm going to have a hair follicle test. That goes back 90 days.
Okay.
As far as for drug use of that, not that. Well, I feel it's needed, and today we already recorded this, and we're going to play it for you now. I took a polygraph test concerning my arrest and everything, and we're going to play it for you right now, and then we'll be right back. Here it goes. Hey everyone, I said I was going to take a polygraph concerning the events my arrest on April 29th. Well, I was stopped on April 28th. But anyways, this is Rachel. She's a polygraph examiner. Can you tell me about your first name or your whole name? Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous right now.
I understand. It's understandable. My name is Rachel Levy, and I am going to be your polygraph examiner today. Just a little bit about my background. I come from law enforcement, and I currently now do executive protection for high-value targets, and I also do polygraph. And I work with the leader in the industry. His name is John Grogan, and it's certifiedpolygraph.com.
Oh, great.
And for my business, it's stilettosecurity.com, and I can be reached there.
Oh,
My
awesome.
email, if anybody's interested, would like to email me, it's Rachel, Rachel, at stilettosecurity.com.
Great. And I'm really grateful that you took the time to come here today.
Well, thank you.
I know I don't know if you do house calls usually, but like I said, this is really important to me.
Yes, I understand.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Right. Okay, so let's get started. Once again, I'm just going to remind you that during the test, there is no moving allowed, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So make sure that there's no head movements, no movements whatsoever, all right? And we're going to go ahead
I was
and...
just nodding.
I understand, but we're going to start the test now, so please make sure that you sit still, okay? Were you in possession of methamphetamines on April 28th, 2017 at LAX?
No.
Have you ever sold illegal drugs?
No.
Have you ever lied to get out of serious trouble?
Yes.
Were the capsules you had in your bag at Los Angeles International Airport methamphetamines?
No.
Are you being completely truthful about the events of April 28th, 2017?
Yes.
Before this year, have you ever lied to cover something up?
Yes.
Okay, Shawn, that's the end of this chart. You can move now.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Good.
Okay, good. You're being honest about this. You passed the test. Yeah. I know this is tough for you, but
All right, you ready to start this again? All right. All right, we stopped just in case it didn't go right, but do you want to tell everybody?
yeah, Shawn, I just want to tell you and your listeners and your viewers and people that obviously care about the situation that your name has been completely cleared here. You are being 100%, there is zero chance that you are being deceptive in this test and regarding the questions that I asked you.
Thanks.
So, I'm really glad that you were able to clear your name. And just so that you and other people out there know that if there are things that you've been accused of, or it could be work related, it could be relationship, they could be things that are very important. If you want to clear your name, polygraph can be a great tool to use in order to do that.
Well, I knew I was telling the truth, so I was nervous, but I knew I was telling the truth.
Of course.
And I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
And can you tell everyone, there's no BS in here, you'd be in big trouble, right? I already asked you that, right?
It's not so much about trouble. The thing about polygraph is it's relied on by the federal government. The military uses it. In most states, you can't become a police officer without passing a polygraph. So that's how they are relied upon. Their accuracy is about 98% when given by a competent examiner. So they're a tool that's widely respected and widely used. And so today we were able to clear your name, and really I'm glad that you were able to get some peace of mind.
Thanks.
You're very welcome.
All right, we'll come back with something. I don't know after that. Shit.
All right.
Oh, thanks so much.
What's up, party people? Roxy Stryer here from The Tomorrow Show with Kevin Undergaro. We're your twice-weekly broadcast of one man's midlife crisis and the mad millennials in Star Trek uniforms that follow him.
And I'm one of those millennials, Lauren Magrasso here. We've had some amazing guests like Russell Simmons, Ileana Douglas, and Craig Gass. Coolio, right?
Christian Blatt in the house to tell you to go to thetomorrowshow.com to check us out. We're live every Monday and Thursday from 10 to midnight Eastern. That's thetomorrowshow.com. Be there or be square, whatever that means.
Welcome back. We have a very special guest. He wrestled for the WWE and the WCW in the late 1990s and early 2000s under the ring name Shawn Stasiak and Meat. He held the WCW World Tag Team Championship and the WWF Hardcore Championship as well. He is the son of the former WWF legend and champion Stan Stasiak. He is currently a world-renowned chiropractor and motivational speaker. Please welcome Dr. Shawn Stasiak.
All right. Yeah.
Guys, hey, thank you, TK, for that awesome introduction. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on.
And hey, thanks for your patience, everyone. like we don't do a lot of do-overs here, but sometimes things happen, and for technical reasons we had to start over again about 5 minutes in, and there was we had some really cool tales that like stories we had already talked about, but if we try to pretend like this is the the real beginning, it just doesn't work. So
it's okay. I can go ahead and Reader's Digest right back into it, because I think the audience would appreciate that story. We're talking about spirituality and synchronicities, or what people call coincidences. And I was just sharing a story about my dad. Right. That one particular road trip that we were on, that loop in Texas back in 2002. It was actually Father's Day weekend, and I was traveling with Rob Van Dam, and of course he's a very spiritually aware person, and so we were on this spiritual growth journey, and I've been on it ever since. And anyway, the meat of it, no pun intended, the meat of the story is that I had felt my father's spirit, that whole weekend, and it was Father's Day that weekend on Sunday, and we were at a house show. And I remember the night before, on a Saturday evening, I think it was, I was having a bite to eat with Rob. We were in this restaurant bar. I went to go use the washroom. As I was passing by the bar, I heard Lukenbach, Texas by Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, which is a country song that was one of my dad's favorite songs. Whenever I hear it, it's so him. It just connects me and my dad. And so I made note of that. And then the next night, we were at the arena, and I'm walking, around the back, and I think one of the agents, Jack Lanz, I think it was, I walk into the room, and he says, "Hey, man, I'm glad you came by, Shawn, because we were just talking about your dad, just telling this really funny story." And I'm like, "Wow, great." I walk into the locker room, and there's Bradshaw, Kurt Hennig, I think Scott Hall. They were all singing Lukenbach, Texas. So it was just like, wow, it resonated with me. And I knew it's that intuition that people can say, oh, you're just reaching, or you're trying to connect the dots. But no, when you know. It's beyond your mind. It's beyond thinking. It's beyond the ego. It's a spiritual essence. And man, when you know, and it's awesome. And that was basically one of the stories that I was sharing before we got so rudely interrupted by our spiritual frequency that caused this in the first place.
And the thing is I was telling you a story about Kurt Hennig, and Kurt knew your dad, and Kurt's dad knew your dad. So and Kurt had told me plenty of road stories about his time in Portland with your dad. Right. And I was sharing a story with you about the last. I was in Minneapolis or Minnesota. And I was at this casino, Grand Casino Mille Lacs, and that was a favorite spot of Kurt and his father. And this was a few years back, I don't know, about 5 years ago. And so as we're going there, I remember saying to my uncle and my kids, I'm like, how crazy would it be? This was a favorite spot of Kurt and his dad. How crazy would it be if I ran into the Axe here, Sure. And so we're walking through the casino, and the house band plays a song, Working Man Blues by Merle Haggard, and it was a song that Kurt, him and his dad, their favorite was Merle Haggard. Okay, right. So it was all Merle Haggard songs driving down the road with Kurt. So I knew him, and I know them all. And Kurt and I sang Working Man Blues on stage one of the last times we were together, and this song plays as I'm walking through the casino. A guy comes up to me and says, "X-Pac, how cool is this?" He goes like, "I just saw Larry the Axe, and now you." And it's just no way, man. I'm sorry. There is a way. Obviously, it's possible. It's I don't believe much in coincidence, Shawn. And so I sat and talked to the Axe about Kurt for, I don't know, probably an hour that night. It was great, man.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And like you said, that's a great story. And it's like that goosebump, euphoric feeling, when it happens. It's a natural, awesome high. That's the real highs in life, when you can connect with that spiritual essence. And it's funny because for me, I can't try, if I try to force things, or if I try too hard, like I use an example I call pennies from heaven, okay? I see pennies wherever I go now, and most people look at a penny on the ground and say, well, it's just a penny, why would I bother, Whenever I see a penny, I'm like, I saw one at Chipotle's a while ago. Man, I grab that thing and I hold it up, and I show my gratitude to the universe. I'm so grateful and thankful, because how can divine or a universe bless you with more if you take a single penny for granted? The universe doesn't know the difference between $1 million plus or a single penny. It's an energy. And that's just what I believe in, you know. And go ahead.
I know a lot of rich people that will not walk past a penny and not pick that sucker up, Shawn.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's a spiritual thing for them or not, but they get it too, you know.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, since I've been doing that, I'm telling you, I've documented on Facebook Live. Some people probably think I'm nuts or I'm making it up, but I swear to God, I'm not. And now I'm finding more quarters and nickels and dimes, silver. I found a $1 bill a couple Sundays ago at the mall. I even found a $20 bill at one of my friend's birthday parties. I know it fell out of someone's pocket, but why did I see that? Why I feel like I'm manifesting this, you know?
Maybe.
And so my whole point of the moral of the pennies from heaven is just not taking anything for granted and realizing that money is just an energy. It's a conversation that you have with yourself about money, and that you can manifest. You know, again, how can you be blessed with more or abundance if you take for granted the littlest things? You know, and so it starts with a penny. And that's just a story I wanted to share.
And you know, I think you were touching on it a second ago. It was things that manifest, and like I believe that we create our own reality, man. Like from the time I was 10, Shawn, I tell this a lot. I knew I was going to be a wrestler, and I focused on that, and that was my vision and my dream, and therefore it happened, man. And I think we all can do that, Shawn. All of us, man.
I do too. Of course, it's a never-ending learning journey, is what I call it. I mean, you know, when I started discovering this like, I guess, how would you classify this? I guess the genre would be modern day spirituality or
spiritual enlightenment. You know, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm not religious. You know, Shawn, I grew up Catholic. I guess I live here in Dallas, Texas, so it's kind of the Southern Bible Belt. And I'm not here to bash any religions or ideologies. Right. I mean, whatever your belief is, your belief. You know, as long as you're not flying, you're blowing yourself up and killing people and flying planes into buildings. That's a little far-fetched for me. But I mean,
kids,
as far as
man.
most religions. Pardon?
I was just going to say, are messing with little kids and things like that in the name of religion.
Yeah. But most religions, you know, I think there's a overall consensus principle, and that is just to love your neighbor, to be kind, to help others, to be grateful, be giving and loving, and that's really, I think, the premise of most religions. Some of the rituals and things that these different religions do, I just scratch my head, and it just seems so silly to me, because as my spiritual awareness grows more and more, my innate, which they say, you know, God speaks to you in your heart, God speaks to you in silence, and I feel like I gain wisdom and insight from that. Yeah. I believe that we're all capable of tapping into the one source that we're all from.
Sure.
This is just a temporary vehicle, this body, this vehicle, you know, this, the materialistic world. And so, man, we're getting pretty deep here. This is like some of the deepest stuff you can get into, but I'm fascinated with it, and I'm, as much as, like, you know, 10 years ago when I was discovering and learning, I was like, wow, I didn't know shit, you know. 5 years prior to that, and then every 5 years it's like I look back and go, man, I didn't know shit. I just keep gaining more and more wisdom. So I just think you just continue in your life journey. You, as long as you're open to that and you seek that knowledge or insight, you just become more and more advanced and aware.
So,
you know?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And Shawn, you know, I talked before we. Anyways, I won't go there. We were talking. Okay. I just kind of got messed up because I was going to talk about us having to do take two here, but I don't need to keep talking about that. But I just did anyways.
I think they know we did a take two and a three and a four. Okay. But we're here. We're on.
All right. We were talking earlier, and I was telling you how great it is for me to see you being so successful as a doctor, a chiropractor, and a motivational speaker, man. And when I met you, Shawn, like, what it was like in the late 90s, looking back on it, like, I remember us talking a lot, and you used to talk about your father a lot, and I didn't realize back then that it was just a fresh passing still. You had just lost him not that long prior to me meeting you. Yeah,
I think it had been about maybe not even a year, maybe a year. that I had lost him. In fact, the story goes, I created see, when I was growing up, you and I are probably relatively the same age, and we never got a chance, Shawn, to really. I will say this. I don't want to get off topic, but I did want to get this point out real quick. We didn't really get a chance to know each other super well, but I feel personally, and again, I keep reverting this to the spiritual component of things, but I always felt like connected to you, man, in the sense that if we spent more time around each other, that there was something, I don't know what it was, the times that were very limited that we were around each other, I felt that there was a connection there. But, timing's everything. You went your way, I went mine, and, the business is crazy in the sense, politically, how they bounce around different companies, and you know how it goes, right? So
absolutely. The thing I remember, Shawn, is that our conversations, they had substance. They weren't just like, small talk conversations or talking about, they were talking about things besides wrestling. They were like I remember just real life things. And you talk about your dad a lot, and you had a success compared to so many, and just like in football, basketball, so many people don't make it. I would say you had a pretty successful career in professional wrestling. The thing is, Shawn, can you tell me this? I'm sorry, the real question was, how much more successful do you think it would have been, or no, let me rephrase that. How much do you think it affected your ability to not be more successful than the passing of your father?
Okay, so it's interesting you bring that up, and I'll get into that. But yeah, you and I have had substance, conversations when we did have them, and that's why I always felt like, man, I'd like to get to know this guy more, because I feel like when we connected, it was real substance and whatnot. But I just had lost my father. I played this anti-bullying character for kids named Phobia, F-O-B-I-A. TV.com is the website for that. But I actually sent that tape in. I was actually at my dad's funeral in Portland, Oregon, and I came across Matt Bourne, who played Doink the Clown, as you know.
I knew Matt very well.
Yeah, he was of course, his dad, Tough Tony Bourne, and my dad were friends and worked together years ago. But he said, man, I know you just lost your dad and it's a tough time, but timing's everything, especially in this business. He goes, and I had never been formally trained in pro wrestling. I had just graduated or getting ready to graduate from Boise State. He said, send that tape in. And it was like a VHS cassette tape, old school, sent it in, horrible resolution. But I did the character every Halloween. It was a face paint. I was enamored by the face paint, the Ultimate Warrior, Sting, the Road Warriors. I just like these larger than life characters that had these great bodies and face paint, looked like color comic books come to life, just popped, and I just was enamored with that. And so I created my own character based off the influence of that. Of course, my dad, I looked up to, and guys like Andre the Giant and Kurt Hennig, for instance. Yeah. But it was really at that time, right after my dad passed in '97, I sent that tape in. Bruce Pritchard was in the in the office at the time for talent relations. Said, hey, we like you got a good look, you're charismatic. Come on in. I did a tryout, at the Stanford warehouse back in the day. Yep. I met Yokozuna there, and it was the first guy I hung out with was Yoko and Tom Pritchard, and basically was trained from scratch, at the WWE headquarters, and sent me to Memphis. I worked with Jerry Lawler for about 6 months, and then all of a sudden, boom! Now I've been called up to the main roster of the WWE, and so I'm giving you a little bit of background story to kind of answer your specific question about success. So it came so fast. It came so damn fast. And even though I had grown up around the business had changed since my dad was in it, right? Yes. And I also, too, I'm going to just admit this up front. I've been saying this. Back then, I think because I didn't deal with my dad's death correctly, I think I suppressed it. I think that I just put so much pressure on myself that when I got back there, I just didn't want to screw up. And now all of a sudden I'm in the back locker room with all these freaking stars, superstars, and that I had been watching for a couple years and I looked up to and was inspired by. And I was, I was kind of nervous, not wanting to let, I had this name, Stasiak, these big shoes to fulfill, and I had a lot of expectation on me. And I think in essence, as you know, Shawn, I know you've heard this in TK yourself, you're you have a collegiate athletic background, and you can attest to this, and me with my amateur wrestling background, you know, in real competition, but in, you know, in professional wrestling, yeah, it's choreographed, but man, it's still performance and nerves, and you're dealing with what you know, there's a lot of things going on. And I think I just, when you go out there not to lose, or you go in there saying, oh man, I don't want to screw up, I don't want to screw up, I don't want to screw up. Well, guess what? You're going to screw up. And now that I've learned about law of attraction, I created that for myself. I became neurotic. I became insecure. I kind of label myself, man. And it's a shark eat shark world, and I'm amongst these guys where, you know, it's do or die. It's you know how it is. It's a rough. And I didn't have anyone overlooking me. And here I come in with this, you know, I'm you know, well built, coming in and have this look and name and this and that, and maybe it created some, I mean, you know that business, Shawn. It could be one of those things where, you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I'm asking people questions, and it was just an opportunity for them just to just, you know,
oh, for sure.
Down.
For sure. Looking back on it, like some of the things you're talking about feeds right into certain types of people in the locker room that, you know, and that's just, man, that was the culture, man. I've been the one that's been given shit and been messed with, and I've been one of the guys that's done it too, man.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way anymore, man. I mean, we can't do anything and go back and change the past, but I truly believe it's better if that's just a thing of the past, you know.
Well, do you think it goes back to what you were saying about energies? You were feeling this negative energy, and that was drawing negative energies of people in the locker room towards you, and maybe.
Looking back now, I realize that I manifested and created a lot of that. Man, I'll tell you, and I'm going to get into this a little bit, Shawn, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's how you look at the cup, half empty or half full. For me, Shawn, for years, I was haunted by my wrestling experience, because I felt like a complete failure, because in the context of pro wrestling, with my dad's name, our name, Stasiak, him being one of the original WWE champions, or back in his day it was the WWF.
Right.
You know, I just didn't even scratch the surface as far as the potential, and all the ingredients were there for an award-winning stew. You know what I mean? But sure. I just didn't have the chef or the cookbook to help. I didn't have a Pat Patterson or Jim Ross. And I'm not pointing fingers. Look, if there's any fingers to point, I'm going to point and run at myself. But I'm just saying that I didn't have. Of course, this is very cliche. You know, hindsight's 20/20. If I knew what I know now back then, I mean, I think it would have been a different experience. But I'm also become accepting of the past. I accept we're exactly where we're supposed to be in life.
Sure.
I don't want to sound like Tony Robbins, but you know what I mean? We really are. And so looking back, I for years I felt like a complete failure. I was disgusted at things. I wanted redemption. I wanted to make a return. I wanted to show up differently. And I've been knocking on the door over the last 15 years, but it's never opened.
You know, the thing, with the exception of like a small portion of us in society, one of the most important things, and just my opinion, I think it's true though, is the feeling of belonging and fitting in. Mm-hmm. You know, being part of
community.
Community. Like, and I just think, man, when you come in, I just think you were trying too hard.
And Shawn, that's interesting you say that, and I'll tell you why. Because when I lost my dad, look, I lost both my mom and my dad, and I don't want to sound like a sap story, but I'm just telling you, look, I've been blessed. I am so grateful and so blessed for so many things that I do have in my life. But I have been dealt, sometimes I say a raunchy deck of cards. But you take the good with the bad, and for me, I'm learning, hey, it is what is. You can't go back in the past. All you can do is just live in the now and move forward, learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, bottom line is that I was down on myself for so long about my career, because I felt like in the context of my name and where I came from and what was expected, it just never matched. There was a complete disconnect. And I look back and realize the mistakes I made, where I went wrong, how I was perceived, how I projected that, all that stuff. I mean, it all came full circle. Sure. And a complete awareness of what happened. But then I look back and I went, you know, man, I did get a chance to experience an awesome experience. I mean, to be able to say that I made it to that level. I did work and rub shoulders with some of the biggest names, you know, Rock and Stone Cold, and work with Kevin down in WCW, sure. Kevin Nash. And I had my little, and I look back and you know what's funny, Shawn, is over the years, I didn't realize, because I always saw negative connotations to my name and just always being associated with negative stuff. But over the years, it's like maybe it's with this WWE network, the fact that some of these young generations can go back and watch the library and learn about some of the other eras, right? I feel more love now, and I realize that I was more appreciated than I ever thought I was. I was respected more, and I always felt that I wasn't. And you can look at the cup half empty or half full, and I realized, hey, you know what? I made it there. I had my experience. I'm so grateful and blessed for that dynamic, unique life. And at least I was able to experience that. And maybe that was all in the cards for me. You know, maybe that's all that was meant to happen.
Maybe
you know, I thought I
not.
was going to be a multiple WWE champion and, you know, Hall of Fame status and all this stuff that I had put in my head. But that was probably the pressure that I created in my head going in.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Well,
probably.
with hindsight being 2020, if you could go back, do you think you would have chose a different name and not taken the Stasiak name right away? Because I know they tried it with Meat, but it was kind of already established. Like everyone knew you were a Stasiak. Situation.
Yeah. Meat was stupid, man. That was just, I use an analogy. It's kind of like you're an actor, and maybe you have a role. They have a character they want you to play. And at that point in my career, I didn't have any leverage or position to say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. No, I took what I could take, and I said, I'll just make the best of it that I know how, and I'm sure that will fizzle out, and we'll eventually get into something that's more fitting. And right now, I'm just trying to get my feet wet. So that's how I looked at that. Just get the experience. I'm here. I'm part of the WB family. And Shawn, that's the other thing too. I don't really have family. I'm still single. I've never been married, no kids. You know, I love kids. I'd love to have a family, but it's one of those things where, you know, I know a lot of people who are married too, they're very miserable. So, you know, again, take a good from that. But the point is that I think, Shawn, that I was looking to fulfill this void, this huge empty hole in my heart, my soul, that I looked at the WB, the boys, as maybe a family, and didn't realize that you know, that gave them an opportunity to, this guy's vulnerable, he's weak, minded, I don't know. And they took it to me, and that's basically what happened, I believe.
Yeah.
And I didn't make some stupid mistakes and decisions on some things that were never wrongful intent.
And I know that.
Helped my career.
I know that. Is that? Do you want to talk about any of that, Shawn?
I don't care, man. I mean, it follows me wherever I go, so I just embrace it now.
And first of all, like, I want to go backwards for just a bit when you're talking about some of the things you read about yourself from and I can relate to reading things that you don't like about yourself. But the thing is it's our story, Shawn, and we don't have to let other people write it. And it's not too late to take, you know, control of your own story and write it yourself. And you understand what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, well, here's the, you know, and that's, you know, so I realized years later, like even up to this very day, you know, that I'm very accepting of everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything, and realize we're exactly where we're supposed to be. And our life really is, Shawn, it's like a movie or a book. Wrestling, look, God forbid, I hope I'm here for at least another 30, 40 years, because there's some things that I want to accomplish on this planet to make a difference in this world. I want to leave a legacy that's when I pass, when my time is up here in this physical form that I know it, I want to leave a legacy of who was Shawn. And I don't want to be defined at, oh, he was the wrestler, or he was even the chiropractor, or he's this one of, I want to get into that before we get off the air here. Right. I'm creating a new brand. I'm starting a brand new chapter in my life where I'm taking every chapter of my life, the wrestler, the fitness guru guy, the chiropractor, all these things, and I'm culminating into this next chapter. This next chapter really is going to be the sum total of what my experience has been up to this point. So we're the authors of our own book. We're the producer and director of our own movie. And I love to use that analogy. I love that analogy because I connect with that so much, and a lot of people do when you think about it that way. I was just a guy that happened to, in one of the chapters in the book, was professional wrestling. That doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define who you are, you know?
Yep.
And so that's just something that we did, that we happen to have a talent for, and we had a knack to do it with the right personality and so forth, and we had that experience, and you honed your craft and you became good at it, and that's just something that you happen to do. Shawn, by the way, I mean, I'm looking at you right now, and you look great. You look fantastic. You're in great shape. I'm doing the best that I can do too as I age. It's like the glue that's kept us together, right?
Oh
you
yeah,
look
man.
Amazing.
Yeah. How old are you now, Shawn?
Oh man, I'm going to be 47 in a couple months in July.
I mean, I'll be 45 in July. What was your birthday?
July 21st. And you're in July, aren't you?
I'm July 13th. But
yeah, see, I told you that's why there's some connection here, man.
Yeah. Hey, so Mark, check this out. You know that video that where you see Shawn with his father and all that? That's, oh man, I never saw that before last night, and it's so cool.
That was the clip I sent, right?
A video, the comeback story idea.
Yeah,
really man.
Good.
Really cool. I mean, can we show a little bit of that in the background as we're talking about this?
Sure. Just give me a sec.
Yeah, sure. Damn, you know what? That kind of threw me off here.
First off, you both look amazing.
Thanks.
So,
that's what threw me off. The compliments.
I love TK, by the way. She makes me feel so good. Thank you, TK. You're awesome.
No, you guys putting in the work. There's a lot of people who are your ages that don't just kind of let it all go. So definitely kudos to you for putting in the work.
Well,
both you guys.
thank you. It is a lot of work at first. It doesn't feel like work anymore, though, man. It just feels like how I live my life. I don't know about you, Shawn.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, it's part of your life, and I tell people all the time. I try to encourage people. In fact, it's a new brand that I'm building right now, the Dr. Shawn brand.
Yeah, talk
it's
to
all
us about that.
Empowering others to live a more enchanting, vibrant, healthy life. And if you look at work, going to the gym, or eating a certain way, that's, oh man, I got to eat that, or it's a task. Oh, I got to go to the gym. Well, then you're not in the right alignment. You have to live. This is your life. This is your well-being. This is your sanctuary. This is the glue that keeps you together for this whole experience. Is the way that you have to embrace that. And I see that you're doing that, Shawn. And I want to make one other point. I'm sorry. I just feel like giving credit where credit's due, and I just felt it was important for me to connect with you. I was going to do it in private, but what the heck? We're on the air. Let me just do it now, right here. So I know that you've been through a lot of wars, a lot of trials and tribulations. Okay?
Sure.
And I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts and interviews and stuff, and I feel like I've really gotten to know you more so in the last, 6 months to a year. And Shawn, I just want to commend you and acknowledge you for the changes you've made, not just physically with your body, but just your mind and your spirit. And there was a couple moments in your life. We didn't know each other super well, but I always cared about you, man. And deep down, I've said prayers, and I just love seeing you come around and turn things around, and it's really inspiring. It inspires me, man. It really does. And so I just want to commend you. The show you've got going on, the track that you're on now. Man, just keep doing what you're doing. And apart from what happened a couple weeks, that's not my business, but it sounds like a misunderstanding, complete, chaos. But
no, but hey,
I'm proud of you, Shawn. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Shawn. And that means a lot to me, man. And I feel amazing. I really do. And my arrest, I can promise you this, they can't mess with me, man. Not my brain, or not my mind, I should say. And the polygraph already aired, or no, it's not.
No, it'll air.
Okay, I shot did a polygraph segment out of sequence, and it's going to play later on. And I'll leave the.
People will get to know the real truth.
They'll know the.
I didn't want to spend too much time on that because I figured it wasn't my business, but I had heard and in fact you had been gone for a couple days, and I was very concerned, and of course I text or.
Yeah, got an email.
Man. So because I was sitting in jail.
I was checking on you, man.
I'm innocent, man. I didn't do it for once.
And you know what's funny is not funny, but I mean not because I know you. We have this connection from wrestling or whatever, but I believe you, man. I mean I know deep down intuitive wise that I believe. I think it's just because of. Maybe when we have a particular, we're defined by certain things in our lives of the past, which is the past. I think that people can look at the future or the present with the goggles of the past. They filter through that, so you're already labeled, right? Oh, yeah. And I think that's exactly what happened.
This is why I don't hold it against anybody that doubts my story or believes, what they read. I totally get it, but man, I'm not even. Of course, it derails things a little bit. I can't even get into it right now, how much it does. But up here, man, I'm just as strong as I was before it happened.
Good, man. It's awesome. Well, keep that. That's important. That's the most important thing.
Man.
So,
and a lot of it has
I just wanted to commend you for what you're doing.
Thank you. And a lot of it has to do with the things I put in my body. I don't put garbage in my body anymore, man. I just didn't realize some of the stuff was garbage. Mm-hmm. So in that, all the sugars.
You mean like your diet?
Yes,
or
everything,
what exactly,
man. I eat a lot. Most of my My carbohydrates come from green vegetables, and I usually eat them raw. Jimbo will tell you I cooked for Jimbo last week.
He cooked me a steak last week. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It tasted so good, and it was very surreal to be like, wow, X-Pac just made me dinner.
I cooked myself probably 5 or 6 either beef patties or steaks yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I eat all day long, man. Like 6, 7, 8 times a day sometimes, and I can't keep fat on me. Can't keep it on me.
You've probably been kind of a lean. You're blessed with a leaner physique. You know, like if you don't work out, you probably just get skinny, which is a good genetics and metabolism to have, as opposed to getting, you know. I mean, I'd rather have that than, you know. I have both. If I don't work out, I get skinny and fat. So.
But when we take care of ourselves physically, man, our mentally, you know, they go hand in hand and they feed each other. But, anyways, enough about me.
Hey, listen. When I come to LA, though, I'll know where to come to eat.
Absolutely, come over to my house. For sure.
I'm serious. I want to come over.
Shawn, we touched on it a little bit ago, and you know, I asked you if you want to talk about this, and I only want to talk about it to talk about the things that I'm bothered by about it, and not your actions. And I can.
Well, before we get what Shawn is referencing to was when you were released by WWE for recording locker room conversations.
You know, obviously you owned all that, man. And I remember how you were about that. And like, you know, it was obvious you were telling the truth and you were sincere, man, that it wasn't for any like kind of purposes that people's like minds were wandering and thinking that, oh, like, you know, tabloids or, there's nothing like that, man. I know it wasn't. I just, you know when somebody's telling the truth, man.
In Shawn's Determined documentary, which I watched, I really enjoyed. It talks about you've been filming and recording things your entire life. It was just something that you did. So to do it there was not uncommon for you, but for other people who didn't know you, it was suspicious of like, what's this guy doing?
Right.
But I thought of it very like Exit Through the Gift Shop Banksy documentary, where this guy always has a camera and he's just always recording.
Yeah, but the thing is like at that time, okay, that was something
very taboo.
Man, yeah, and so I don't blame people for I don't blame the boys for being mad. None of that, man. And I remember, like, do you want to talk about what happened to you? Will you talk about that?
Sure, no problem, man. You know, this for a while there used to irritate me that this topic would come up. So I was like, I thought I told my story. I thought people, but I realized that it's synonymous with my name. It'll always be part of it, and I've embraced it. So I have no problem with it, man, because it just gives me another opportunity just to. Something to talk about, something to clear the air for anybody that's ever wondering. It's real simple, man. Yeah. To this very day, I've always been fascinated with tape recorders, video cameras. I do it now with social media, especially. You're always documenting things. I mean, that's all it is now. We live in this complete digital world. So I had a tape recorder. In fact, it was encouraged by, you know, I think Dory Funk Jr., Tom Pritchard, when I was training. You know, you'd be on the road on long trips, so work on your craft, work on your characters, promos, interviews, things of that nature.
Roddy Piper used
to do it in the first place.
Roddy Piper used to do it all the time. He would talk into his little recorder all the time.
I mean, it's a great way. You got to just repetition, right? That's how you perfect your craft. And so that's why I had it on me. So, yeah, I was just in the car on one loop with was Davey Boy Smith, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
And Steve Blackman. And I was traveling with them up in Quebec. We're in Canada.
I thought it was Green Bay, man. I thought it was Green Bay or something like that. I could have been wrong, though.
Well, we went to Buffalo right after, across the border after, but basically we had a loop of, I think it was Toronto, then Montreal, and so, yeah. And so everything's in French in Quebec, and so Blackman and Davey Boy are arguing and bitching the whole time in the car because, you know, we're tired, we've been on the road, you know how it is. And so I just thought it'd be funny to record them without them knowing to get authentic, organic stuff going on, right? And I was going to then play it back for them a day or two later and say, hey, this is how you guys sounded bitching and complaining all weekend. And play like this. It was just like a rib or a joke that I was going to play on them only, right? Well, I was in the Montreal airport, and I remember I took the recorder out and I put up to Steve like I was a reporter, you know, like TMZ, TK. I was like, hey, this is Shawn Stasiak here at the Montreal airport. Steve, what do you think of the Montreal? And I was just kind of messing around with the recorder, and I realized at that point when he looked at me, he goes, I don't. He goes, put that away. He goes, I don't, you know. He goes, well, you weren't recording in the car, or you weren't recording. He was asking me, and I said, And right then and there, I knew this is where I went wrong. I lied. I said,
yeah. Okay.
I said no, because, and in my mind I go, well, there's so much for that rib. I mean, I got no use for this now. Just record over. I mean, there's no intention for anything. I knew at that point they didn't know who I was. I just started in the business. I was like, if they would have known me, if you guys would have known me, that's just Shawn with that's what he does. There's no wrongful intent whatsoever. But where I went wrong was I lied about it. I said, okay, well, so much for that rib. Put it in my gym bag. And then the next night in Buffalo, I had my gym bag in the locker room. I was out in the ring going over my match. And then all of a sudden, one of the agents comes and said, hey, Shawn, there's some stuff going down, man. You need to come back with me. You're in trouble. I was like, what? I thought that was just they're ribbing me, right? And I walk back there, and there's the whole locker room staring at me, and there's my bag with all my stuff out, tapes, and the and man, it's like saying I've got a murder. I got the knife or the gun in my hand. There's blood all over me, but I didn't commit the crime. You know what I mean? But to everybody else, it was like, and I understand that now because look, if I was, let's say that I made a return to WWE and I'm in the locker room I've been around the business now. I consider myself, I guess, somewhat of a veteran guy. I've been away for 15 years. I've done the odd show here and there, but my point is that would piss me off if a young rook came in or it concerned me. I say, well, I don't trust this guy. And what is he recording? I get that. I see it was wrong, bad timing, wrong place, wrong time, but there was no wrongful intent whatsoever. And essentially, it got me fired, man. And it was probably, besides losing my mom and my dad, I have to say that it ranks right up there because I was looking to fulfill that void with family, with that family, and that got taken away.
And
that died right there.
Yeah, that's what was so sad to me, man. Back then, even, and I'll tell you a story like in a second. I can't remember personally being that like mad about it when I found out, but like I remember like the whole like we all kind of as a like locker room wise tend to kind of pile on and get each other going and I just remember, man, Steve and Davey like throwing you out of the car. That's the thing that I remembered, and I remember people passing you up and like laughing and shit, and I remember laughing about it too, man. And I think about that, and I'm pretty ashamed of it now, and I apologize for that.
Shawn, I appreciate you. I appreciate your kind sentiment.
Because there was nothing freaking funny about it, man. Nothing about any of it. Not how you were treated, not what you did, nothing. It was sad.
Well, it was wrong. It was, looking back, it was just a stupid, dumb move that I made. It was just, and that was the wrong part of it. It just was, that was the wrong part. But as far as the aftermath and what came after, it was a little excessive,
Very much so. But that's, what? Those guys are from Calgary, man, and that was hardcore way of doing things up there. Not excusing any of it at all. But man, heavy stuff happened up in Calgary.
Yeah, no, and that's where Davey Boy comes from. That
Blackman too.
Background.
Blackman as well.
Yeah. Sure. So that bothered me for many, many years after, more so because I'll tell you my thought process back then. And by the way, so if this brings you any peace or closure for you, I completely forgive you for anything. So don't even think about that. So that's done. Release that. That's just nonsense. Don't even worry about that. We may, there's things I've done that I'm ashamed of that I look back. I can't even believe that, it doesn't reflect who I am or my character. Sure. So that's just part of our experience in growing, and that's, no problem there. But I'll tell you.
Would you say that was your darkest hour? Was that your darkest point that you had to come out of the darkness from?
Oh my God, man, that was brutal because that was my whole life, man. That was all I had. I lost my family. I didn't have anybody. It was like this was my childhood dream. I couldn't even. It was like talk about a nightmare. The first night I woke up, I went to sleep and woke. It's something. You've gone through trials and tribulations. You've gone through something, and you wake up, you fall asleep, and you wake up and you go, and you think, oh man, was that a dream? Is that real? And it's like that split second where your mind has to decipher: is it reality, or is it just a horrible dream? And it's like, oh, please tell me it's a horrible dream. And you're like, no, that happened. No, that's real. This is reality. It's like, oh my God, that's what it was, And getting kicked out of the car, that was something where at the time, I'll tell you right now, and I don't want to sound like Johnny Badass or nothing, but
Dude,
first
you
of all,
are.
whenever that,
You are, man. That's not a joke.
well, okay, but what I'm saying is that, look, back then, look, if I was in that situation today, I don't care if there was 10 guys in the car. I would have fought every one of them. I'm not going to let someone disrespect me to that. I mean, to kick me on the side of the car, on the side of the highway in Buffalo, and it wasn't warm either. It was like in the winter, like November or something.
That's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, but at the time, I was so shocked that was even going on, and I felt so guilty and so ashamed that it's amazing how your mind, emotionally, I was like, I'm wrong. I felt so bad, right? I just wanted to keep my job. I was more concerned about getting fired. I wanted to keep my dream job. And when they said get out of the car, so I thought we're gonna fight. So I thought it was gonna happen, that we're gonna start swinging, But they both took my bags, put them on the side of the road, and they both got in the car. And I just waited there, and I thought these guys are just they're messing with me to teach me a lesson. But they're going to stop about 100 feet up, and then I was expecting that, but no, the car just kept going. I said, "Holy crap! They just left me here on the side of the highway."
Yeah. And you thought you deserved it, right? Because I think that's the Catholic in you, man. I think that's the Catholic in you, Shawn. Good
old Catholic.
Yeah. You must deserve it.
I did at the time, Shawn. But then when I actually saw, I think it was a fan noticed me, recognized me on the highway. Said, "What are you doing on the highway?" I said, "Long story, man. Can I get a ride?" And they gave me a ride to the hotel, and the thoughts crossed my mind. When the time I got to the hotel, I was now getting pissed off. I was thinking, I have a decision to make here. I know where they're at. We're staying at the same hotel. Do I knock on the door and say, shit's on now? But I think I was traveling with Kurt Angle at the time too, and he advised me. He said, "Shawn," he says, "if I were you, you don't say a word. Don't put it over.
Put it over.
You go to your room." I looked up to Kurt too because I was an amateur wrestler. I have a background in amateur wrestling, and so I looked up to Kurt. And so even though he was a rookie, his first year in the business, I still I listened to what he said. He kind of was a filter for me, and so I said, okay, all right. So the next day I showed up to the arena. I went right up to Steve and Davey Boy, and I shook their hand and I said, "I'm sorry," and I didn't say nothing about the being kicked out, but boy did I want to, man. But I was just more worried that I was going to be, fired, and so I ended up getting fired. And then I went to WCW for a year, had a great experience there, made more money, actually put tag team straps on us, had a great travel the world, had a great time with Kevin. When I came back, I think that they had me back, come over to WBE again, but again, I don't think they really had anything for me, and so I was like the Wile E. Coyote of the WBE, running the milk trucks and walls and just doing goofy, silly stuff that I was hoping would pass, and finally...
It's work, but it's not fulfilling,
It wasn't, man. It wasn't, and I want to end real quick on this, that whole being kicked out of the car thing. So Davey Boy passes away, and I still show my respects, and I prayed to him, and I forgive it, whatever, like all that stuff. I just was, just felt bad about that even happened. And with Steve, I knew that he was still around, like up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I think it was a couple years back in '07. In fact, I think it was right after the unfortunate Benoit. God, so many tragedies, these stories in wrestling. But I saw Steve on CNN or some news channel, whatever he was holding. Him and Mark Merrow were going at it, and it had eaten at me for so long about that. I felt like I swallowed it. Maybe it was just an ego thing, and it probably really was, but it's more of a pride thing too. It was like it just bothered me. So I just and I don't want to get into detail, and it wasn't one of those things where I'm cool with it now. Steve and I had made amends on the phone, but I had a problem with him, man, and I was almost caught. He said, "Well," so I said, "Steve, I said this has always bothered me. I felt that I was mistreated. There's a part of me that wants to redeem myself." And he goes, "Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to come up here and handle it, or what?" I said, "I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Or you want to come?" And it was one of those talks where it's like, and I started thinking, well, look, if we're going to go at it, man, maybe we should just like promote this thing and make it into some kind of pay-per-view, make some money if we beat the crap out of each other.
Here's the thing, man. And you might already probably done this from the sounds of it, or even better, how about we just talk it out, man? Because you're already talking anyways, you know, civilly.
Yeah, well, that's what it turned out to be because
he's a good guy, man. He's a good guy, Shawn. In spite of what he did.
Oh, you know what? This is the sad thing.
Awesome
I love
guy.
Steve Blackman. He was one of the first guys that I connected with WWE. He's funny. He's got that dry humor.
Unbelievable.
But I laugh more at his. I thought he was funnier than anybody, and that's why it was so heartbreaking for me because, you know, I think honestly, I think that Steve was also maybe enticed by some outside influence a little bit too. Sometimes people have to carry out things that they don't really want to, but because they're part of a group, they're almost expected to. You know what I mean? It's like a fraternity, or it's almost like a prison in some ways. That business.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, I mean, I've been part of that, Shawn. Like, I'm not proud of it. So, and I'm pretty sure that Steve's arm wasn't twisted too much, man. Like I said, he had a hell of a run in Calgary, and that can make you very, you know, rough.
Well, sure. Anyway, to conclude all that, you know, basically we just ended up talking, and because I felt his sincerity on the phone, that gave me, and he had said, I'm sorry. He had apologized about just that whole thing. He just said the whole thing sucked. I said, yeah, it did, man. And just to hear him
feels good, doesn't it?
On that level, I felt instant peace, and I said, okay. I said, brother, listen, God bless you. You know, take care, and I wish you all the best, and that's it. I'm done with it. It doesn't bother me at all now.
So that hole that's just eaten away all those years is filled automatically, right? Just instantly with one conversation.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing because you're thinking aggression, and you know, I don't consider myself a violent person. I know that we all have that potential in us. I mean, there's some wonderful people in the world that are in federal penitentiaries that snap for literally 15 seconds. Did something horrific, and they regret it right away. It's like, well, you know, that I have that side to me, and as I've gotten older, I remind myself more like my dad. My dad was a beautiful, loving man. Everyone loved Stan, but he had a mean streak, man. And I'm starting to see. I feel like as I've gotten older, I think my tolerance. It's like it gets a little lessened as I get older. But then I'm starting to, you know, my spiritual growth. It's like that's what keeps me balanced. You know, I think we all have that propensity too.
So and. You knew your father, and how, like, when you look back at your father and remember him, what about your father do you think that you share, like, as far as like characteristics and, you know?
Just being a big clown, making people laugh. I like to be the butt end of the joke. I like to put smiles on people's faces, make them laugh. You know, telling stories and just, you know, I guess kind of being a comedian. I guess I don't know. It was just my dad was just a big kid, a big loving man, you know, that just happened to have a mean streak when he turned it on. And of course, you know, back in his day, he wasn't like one of these physique guys, bodybuilder types. He was just a big brawly guy, 6'5", 300 pounds, and just like to brawl and drink beer. You know, that was my dad. He would go into we lived in a suburb outside of Toronto, Canada, Oakville, Ontario, and we had this public gym, like a racquetball place, you know, that had weights and racquetball rooms and a swimming pool in the back that had a bar. And my dad would just go in there and do like 3 sets of curls and say, okay, that concludes the workout. And then he'd be out drinking beer the rest of the day out in the pool. But everyone loved Stan because he would tell stories, and, you know, and there he was in his purple wrestling tights with oil on him, sitting out in the sun all day drinking beer. I mean, that was my dad.
Hey, it seems like you got to spend a lot more time with your dad than a lot of sons of professional wrestlers.
Say that one more time, Shawn. I'm sorry.
It seems from listening to your your fond memories and stories of your dad, it seems like you got to spend a lot more time with your father than a lot of other sons of wrestlers that I know.
Yeah, I would you know, miss seeing him. You know, maybe 6 to 8 weeks at a time. Like if you went away to Puerto Rico or maybe Japan or whatever. But remember, when I was growing up around my dad, that was during the territory days. So, and you know, I think you kind of grew up around that, right?
Yeah, man. Florida.
From Minnesota?
Well, Florida. Yeah. Championship wrestling from Florida.
Okay, so like, and you know this, but just for the audience or listeners, basically in those days, there was territories like Don Owen had the Portland, Oregon, the Portland territory, Pacific Northwest. Roy Shires had San Francisco. You had Paul Bosch had Houston, the Von Erichs right here in Dallas, Texas, Sportatorium. You had Florida. You had Vern Gagne's group up in Minnesota. You had Vince Senior in the New England, New York area. So there's all these territories. And so how I explained this, Shawn, is like I almost felt like a carny, like a circus, part of a circus, because we would go to, and that's why I was yanked in and out of school districts my whole life. Never grew up in one area, and it was always the outsider in school. I was, victim of being bullied too, so I was always a skinny, frail kid. And then, of course, my dad was always a heel. And back in the 70s and 80s, TK, they didn't. The business wasn't exposed. They believed it was real, And so here, my dad's a bad guy, right? And he's beating on the Von Erichs, and then I'm at school on Monday getting chased by people at lunchtime, right? They want to beat me up. So. Yeah, but when you're in a territory, like in Portland, for instance, he might be gone for a day, but be back the next day because it was like maybe a 4. By the way, they put a lot of miles, man. I was looking at some of those towns, Shawn, 400 miles there, 300, and coming back. I mean, you're putting 600 to 800 miles on one single show.
Florida territory, everyone was home every night, for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I got to see my dad. It was kind of a quick, see him in the morning or whatever. But then I'd go to school or whatever and come back, and then, where's Dad? Oh, he left. He went. He's on the road again. But it wasn't like it is today, or even in our, the Attitude Era. Well, you're still working now, so I guess you're still part of this. But anyway, you're on the road. 300 days a year, 250, 300 days a year. So I think it changed a little bit. It got a little more demanding that way. But with the territories, you were traveling, but you were able to come back home and sleep in your own bed a lot of times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's a huge thing, man. That's a huge thing, being connected to your family. And even if it's only seeing you in the morning, seeing your kids in the morning, or it's still seeing your kids, man, and you have that familiarity.
Well, in your Determined documentary, you talk about going to the Portland Arena, and that's where you would hang out with young Rocky Maivia.
That's right.
As a kid.
Yep.
And it wasn't until like you and him were older in the locker rooms in WWE that you reminisced about playing there as children that you realized who each other were. What other wrestlers' children were you hanging out with and spending time with, and what stories do you have of young Rock?
Man, you know what? You just trying to think of that. I mean, that was interesting because in Portland, there was an area called the Crow's Nest. That's where they conducted all the interviews, and the camera crew was there, and the commentating desk, and they had the cameras, the facing the ring, of course, the hard camera. And I remember, it's funny because a lot of greats came through there. It was a privilege and an honor for me to be able to experience just the organicness of professional wrestling at that level, so up close and personal. I mean, I remember my dad. I traveled with him, and he said, "Hey, I want you to meet somebody." And I knew Andre the Giant would come to town once a year, And the way in the territory days, what they did, and Shawn knows this full well, is that you didn't want to overwhelm your stay because you want to keep things fresh. That was kind of cool about the territory, is that you'd run your course 6 months to a year, and then you'd move on, and people would rotate, and promoters worked with each other to keep it fresh, right?
Yep.
When the Giant came through every year, everyone made money because it was such an attraction. You don't want a Giant staying in a territory too long because then it gets spread thin. It's a special attraction every year. Here comes Andre the Giant. So there was moments where, my dad said, "Hey, I want you to meet somebody," and he'd take me back in the locker room, and then I'd look over, like there's Roddy Piper lacing up his boots and putting on his kilt, and there's Playboy Buddy Rose, and there's Billy Jack Haynes. Well, Billy came a little bit after this, but, and then all of a sudden I look over, and there's the biggest human being that I've ever seen in my life that I can't even Big Show, Paul White's a big man, giant, right?
Yeah.
But there was something about Andre, man, that just had this mystique. It was just, I know that he had some of the, and I say this with all due respect, he had the acromegaly, a little bit features and stuff. And poor guy.
That big fro, man, that big afro, that made him like a foot taller.
That made him look another 2 feet tall. You know what I mean? And so he stood up, and he had that deep voice. It was like shaking hands with if a big grizzly bear came alive in a human form. That was Andre the Giant. You're just swallow up your hand, I've got stories of Andre. I've got memories of Andre the Giant drinking beer with my dad till 5 a.m. in the morning as a little kid upstairs trying to sleep and hearing this commotion, this big laugh. and here I come walking down this, and there's a live giant in my living room.
Especially as a child, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a child looking up at that. Amazing, right? Oh my God.
Oh, and of course you think your dad's the biggest. Like my dad was not a small man by any means, but I remember I was at it was like one of the wrestlers, or maybe it was one of their wives or family members that had a birthday party. So there was just, and Andre actually was still he was playing he played with the Bigfoot role in the $6 Million Man, the Bionic Man, and he I think he still had the dark makeup circles under his eyes because they had him in studio. And so he had like a case of champagne, and he was just guzzling these champagne bottles. And I remember saying, "You're not bigger than my dad. You're not big." And I'm sitting on his lap, pulling on his afro, and saying we're wrestling around. And my dad's standing up, in the living room. He goes, "Shawn," he goes, "Yeah, Andre's bigger than Daddy. I'm telling you, he's a bigger guy, man." And I'm like, "No, he's not. No, he's not." And so I insisted that he stood up, and like in comparison to my dad. And as he went to stand up, he was like bent at the knees, like just like here. He's already as tall as my dad, and then he stands straight up, and there he just puts his hands around him and just looks down at my dad, like, yeah, he's definitely bigger. He's definitely a giant. So those were just great memories that I had. But yeah, with Dwayne Johnson, what's funny about that is so Rocky Johnson came through the territory, Harley Race, Ric Flair, of course Piper was he spent a lot of time in Portland.
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura,
Skandar Akbar.
Well, Kurt, I don't know about Skandar Akbar. That was more of a Dallas thing for me. But Kurt came through there. I saw a young Kurt Hennig, a 19, 20-year-old Kurt Hennig. It was a lot of great names came through there, man. And they were still like either they're already stars, like the Flairs and the Harley Races were already world champions and so forth. And they come in, and of course that's when. And Shawn, you and I had talked about Billy Jack Haynes.
He was my idol, man, and he was so good to me, man. I was like 10 years old. Like that guy was really good to me. It's sad to see what's going on with him now with the dementia and everything, man. But what a good human being that had been through a ton as a child. And there were so many things like about you that just made me think of, like, you reminded me of somebody from the Northwest, like because of Billy Jack. Because you had that ruggedness about you like him, and you kind of carried yourself like him a bit. So I kind of always thought you reminded me of him a little bit, man.
Okay, yeah, I know that you and I used to talk about that. In fact, you showed me a picture when you were a little, I don't know, you were a teenager, or a little kid, and you were trying to get an autograph from Billy, and he was signing something for you.
He carries a picture of me around to this day, from back then.
Yeah. So with Dwayne, this is funny because Rocky Johnson's. And Snuka was also someone who came through too, and God rest his soul. But so here's this kid. It was Rocky's son, right? And I didn't know him at the time. And we're sitting there. Of course, in the crow's nest, we sat next to each other. So we're watching my dad was commentating. My dad was pretty much retired at that point, or he was wrestling once in a while, but he was towards the end of his career, and so he was doing a bunch of different things for that promotion. And I remember when the matches would end, the show would end. All the little kids, all of us would climb into the ring like a playground and just mess around in the ring. And I remember this kid, half Samoan, half black kid with a big afro. He had an afro. He just, wham, headbutted me, right? And this big lump on my head. We were just playing around, right? And we just thought it was funny and laughed about it. My dad's like, "Hey, what's that on your head? What's that?" He goes, "Oh, that was Rocky Johnson's son that headbutted me, Dad. We were just wrestling." And little did I know, years later, when I would show up in the WWE, and I actually traveled with Dwayne a couple of times, we went and had dinner, we're sitting there talking, we started reminiscing about Portland wrestling, and I said, wait a second, we started putting two and two together. I said, weren't you that kid? And we started, comparing. I said, oh my God, I said, that was you that headbutted me. And it was The Rock. It was Dwayne Johnson. And so it was just funny how that all came full circle, We always tell the joke, though, who kicked whose ass, I always say, well, I kicked his ass, when we were kids, and it would be the other way around for him. But, yeah, man, those are just...
Hey, man, it's your story, like I was saying earlier, man. Tell it how you want.
Yeah, well, just precious memories, man, that I hold on to. And, yeah, man, I just feel very blessed that I had that experience.
Shawn, I mean, I know that time's running short for us two here at Studio Wise, but can you talk to us about, your rise up out of the darkness, how I like to put it, and you know what you got going on right now, like right this second. Just talk about your brand. Tell me about your brand and like all the great things you're doing.
Okay, so you know, Shawn, and I appreciate you making those gestures about having success and coming out of the darkness, and I have, but I still have challenges and struggles to this very day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I know you said you watched that video. I don't know if it was the comeback video or was it the stuff you saw from the DVD? Is that what you're referring to? Or?
You're talking about the YouTube.
That's
clip.
right. Yeah.
You're talking about.
The YouTube video. Okay.
It was about 5 minutes long.
So Shawn, here's the thing. When I left WBE in 2002 and pursued this chiropractic career, there's 2 aspiring careers I always wanted to do. I wanted to take after my dad and become a pro wrestler. So I had that experience. Didn't quite, accomplish the things that I had set out that I thought would happen, but it is what it is. Then it was to become a chiropractor. Because I lived in the chiropractic office. I was beat up all the time from just being an athlete my whole life, from high school, college wrestling, and then especially with pro wrestling. I mean, that was the most damage I ever did to my body. So I became this chiropractor. I've had a wonderful career in the sense that I've helped a lot of people along the way. I've changed the quality of so many lives, and it's very fulfilling and liberating, and it's awesome. But there's still been something missing for me, and I realized that it's just in my DNA, man. I'm an entertainer at heart. I'm a performer. And so, I still to this very day, and I say this with all humbleness. It's not like I'm saying, well, I'm going to kick sand around, and I don't want to talk about today's product. I think that there's some phenomenal athletes and kids that are out there busting their ass, but I just feel like there's some elements of the art that's been lost, and I feel like there's only so many of us around. I mean, I look at you right now and thinking, man, Shawn, we need to pitch some idea, man, and maybe make a return. I mean, you'd be the high-flying aerial tactic guy. I'll be the ground and pound and just submit their ass.
No high-flying aerial nothing for me, Shawn.
That's not going to
Anyway, but my point
I can still do
that,
a really mean spin kick, though, Shawn.
There you go. I think the only time that you and I worked together was a tag match on Raw.
I have that clip.
I remember it was just something real simple. It's like I shot you off the rope, duck a punch, and then you did your spin kick. I bumped for you, and that was it. That's the only time you and I ever worked together.
Oh,
it's the NWO versus you, Tommy Dreamer, and Spike Dudley.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, what a weird combination.
Yeah. And it's like you, Big Show, and Booker T is the NWO.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a clip. I don't know if they want to play it.
But anyway, oh yeah, so Shawn, so I'm decided to put this new brand that I'm just starting, from scratch, and it's a culmination of everything. It's a little bit of that entertainer. It's a little bit of Tony Robbins, because I love to connect with people. I love to be real and authentic, and just know that I'm not bullshitting people. I'm really, I just love to connect with hearts and minds, and if there's anything that I say or I do that can help make a difference and help people stand in their greatness, I want that to be my legacy. And so that's what it's about. If there's one word that describes what my real purpose on this planet is, that is to inspire as many people as I can. Be it whether I'm in an office, seeing someone to help them with back pain or neck pain, whether I'm on a stage speaking or doing YouTube videos, or even an interview like this, whatever. Just being an everyday guy in my community. Maybe it's because I've had so many voids and holes in my life. I think that it's like a perfect fit for me to feel that true fulfillment. That's what works for me the best. So I feel like in some ways I've been custom made for this, instead of looking at life like, life isn't what happens to you, it's what happens for you.
That's
right.
Tony
Robbins says
Robbins.
that.
We're big Tony Robbins fans around here at AfterBuzz. Huge. He's a friend of Maria Menounos'.
Love that guy, man. And you know what? I don't know if you've seen that documentary. It's called
I'm Not Your Guru.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it many times.
Yeah, man. I mean, I cried, goosebumps, the whole thing, and I was like, man, I'm not saying I want to be the next Tony Robbins, but I'll tell you, if I could put together my own proprietary blend, be it a little combination of all these things, so this brand that I'm building, the vision that I have with it is it's entertaining you, it's putting a smile on your face, it's making you laugh. It's probably making you cry too, but at the end of it, you're going to have goosebumps and you're going to feel elevated and inspired to improve yourself in any facet of your life, be it a better father, better husband, a better community leader. If you have visions, goals, dreams, a passion as a business person, entrepreneur, whatever it is, just being a better human being. that's for me, I feel like is what I've been called upon to do. So, staying in shape and keeping this fitness thing going, I also feel I can't put that to, it'd be a waste for me to not share the knowledge and what has worked for me. And so I'm putting together this brand that's going to be informative, educational, motivational, inspiring, and all while entertaining at the same time. And that's basically what the brand is. So I'm doing all these social media handles. I can lay a few of those out here in a minute.
Yeah,
but,
we need you to do all that.
I'm trying to get followers,
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah, well, why don't you tell us, like, as far as, like I said, social media handles, all that. Like, where can we find you on
it's
all
real
that?
simple. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, where can we find you? And what's the name of your brand?
Yeah, so I'm new at this, but so on Twitter, and TK knows because I was talking earlier off the first time, remember? First time we chatted on the phone. But so on Twitter, on Instagram, and on the Facebook fan page, it's real simple. It's at Dr. Shawn 008. That's DRSHAWN 008. In fact, I see it right there on your little, hey, that's cool. I'm glad whoever put that on there. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, my YouTube channel is Dr. Shawn 008. I've got a couple YouTube channels, but I'm focusing on one now. I may change that to just Dr. Shawn Stasiak because I was just informed, TK, by a social media guru. Everybody's a guru, by the way. Says take the 08 off, just have more recognizable name for YouTube. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to take that 008 off. So
yeah, one name for everything is the best bet.
Yeah, so Dr. Shawn, period. Dr. Shawn Stasiak will be the YouTube channel. I'm going to have to change that. But and then, of course, I got a new website that's I'm building actually in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be called DrShawnInspired.com. But right now, if I just get some people, following and watching videos, and I'm going to produce a lot of video content. Some will be entertainment, just pure like reality TV type stuff, just making you laugh. Others going to be some real pertinent information when it comes to diet, nutrition. Well, I hate using that word diet, but just, nutrition. And Shawn, it's funny you talk about your change your whole diet around. I just got back from a seminar in Nashville over the weekend, and I was around some of the most extraordinary chiropractors, some of the most successful but knowledgeable people. I want to take my health to a whole different level, so I'm going to start going completely organic now.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, raw vegetables, the whole thing, man.
And and plug out to Dave Asprey of The Bulletproof Diet, and Headstrong is his new book. And I would highly suggest it if you haven't heard of it. And he's a big, like he was at the last Tony.
I've heard that. Yeah,
he spoke at the last Tony Robbins seminar that was here. I can't remember what they call his seminar, his thing. But anyways, yeah, man, and it's it's pretty much paleo diet, but it's taken to another level, man. And it's great for the brain too, man.
Okay, hey, listen, like after this show and everything, maybe through TK or whatever, if you can give Shawn my number, maybe text me. I'd like to maybe chat with you off air and maybe get some more of that information because, and I'll also share with you what I learn as I research and refine myself over the next 90 days.
And I'll share your information on my social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to say this one last thing, man. And some people listening, maybe people in the business say, oh, you've been away too long, this or that. But here's the thing. People ask me all the time, especially when I try to stay in shape year round, but sometimes we look better certain times of the year than others, right? Mm-hmm. So it's around this time you start refining a little bit. You think summer's coming or whatever. Or when I do stuff with my alter ego character phobia, I'm kind of revealed there, so I like to be a little more, just refine some things. So with that being said, I get the question a lot. I was like, man, about coming back and this and that, and redeeming myself and whatnot. That video that you saw, I think that you're referring to the comeback story about there's never been a father-son duo ever in the history of the WWE become champion, right?
That's right.
That's still a piece of history that's never been made. I actually spoke to Vince a couple years ago about it, and he loved the video. He really appreciated the way it was put together. He really liked it. But he just said that, it wasn't like the direction they were going because of investment in younger guys and this and that. And I get all that. I by no means would ever want to go back to a full-time schedule. I mean, that's not something that look.
Hey, can I interrupt you real quick and ask you, would you be willing to take any independent bookings?
Sure, I mean for the legit ones and that
Yes.
are and yeah, I mean I'm interested in that, but
There's
I've
a
been
lot-
so
hey,
far in
man.
the loop, Sean.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Professional wrestling is very healthy right now, and it's not just WWE. There's a lot of excellent promotions out there, man, and a lot of great independent talent. And it would be cool to see you mix it up with some of those guys, man. Honestly, wouldn't you like to see that,
That'd be
Jimbo?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be.
Yeah, getting back into the
Well,
business.
I think I would love to see you back in WWE because I think you're the full package. You have a great look. You have the second generation story. You've proven that you could do comedy stuff, but it doesn't take away from your wrestling. So I just don't understand why they haven't made
Hey, here's the thing,
position
man.
for you.
I'm gonna just say this.
Yeah, Sean,
Get
More
your
than
name back out there. Get a buzz going about yourself. Have some. I would take some bookings. You're already in great shape. I would get in there and get in the ring with some guys, man. And when if you're going out there and you're putting out a good showing, man, I guarantee you word gets back. That's how you do it. That's just my advice to anyone, not just you, Sean.
Would you be happy even if you couldn't get another run, but just like a Royal Rumble spot?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm open to the right business, you know. I mean, I'm not the same guy anymore. I mean, I'm a team player, and I want to contribute to it. Look, I would just never will waste my time or the company's time doing stupid things that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like UFC. I'm a huge MMA fan. You know, I love MMA. But it's the same thing with some of these fights. Like, they have to make sense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I don't want to just throw me out there just because I want to be back with the WWE or you know what I mean, Sean? Like,
Yeah.
it's got to make sense. And for me, like, as long as it's good taste, I mean, this storyline, honestly, if you want to get the most out of me, if you want to get the most authentic, raw, like when you walk through that curtain, if you want to, people, you know this. If you don't believe in what you're doing, then how is 20,000 people going to
That's
believe?
right.
How are millions of people on TV going to believe you either?
Never. That's right.
So-
I say it
so-
all the time, man.
If you want to get the most out of Shawn Stasiak, second generation wrestler, world class athlete to this very day, full of piss and vinegar, that just wants to go back, redeem himself, and fulfill the promise he made to his dad to win the WWE title, that is my objective. That's the reason why I'm there. And if people get behind that, I think they would, Sean, because they built this right. They built it slow. You can't throw me out there doing, bumping me up. You got to build it slow. It's like we're like an older model vehicle. It still runs great. We'll still have destination. We're still going to get where we need to go. We just got to take care of it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Change the
just
oil.
take big bumps for the bigger shows and the big pay-per-views and things like that. I can only take so much more damage. Let me say that for when it counts and matters.
I'm with you on that, man.
WrestleMania, big pay-per-view. You follow what I'm saying?
I'm with you 100% when it comes to that part. But hey, man, thank you so much for joining us, John. I mean, I really, really had an awesome time talking with you. I mean, you were fantastic, man.
Yeah,
Really
please
means a
come
lot.
in studio when you're in
Yeah.
California.
Yes, and please, man, please get out there and try your hand at some of these independent promotions, man. There's some really good ones out there, and if like you have any questions about whether they're good or not, give one of us a holler over here. You know,
I will. In fact, I'll talk to you more about that, later, because I'd like to pick your brain on a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you can offer a little bit of insight on that, because again, I'm in shape and everything, and I get in the ring every once in a while locally with some of these students and just kind of get there and have fun. I don't really bump a whole lot, but yeah, man. I've been kind of far disconnected with it for a while, so I don't know what's legit, what's not. But I would trust what you're saying and whatever guidance you might have on that. But anyway, man, yeah, I really have enjoyed this. I really appreciate you guys having me here. I definitely, when I come out to LA to visit, for sure, we'll have to connect.
yeah, man, we'll eat some
but
food
I'll
together,
definitely
man.
do a follow up or something.
We'll eat some
Yes.
food together. That's my
We got
drug
so
now.
much
is
more
food.
stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right,
But
man.
there is a chance, Sean. There is a chance that if I do come out and you're cooking up a meal and stuff, I may have to document it for social media. Like one of these reality little episodes I'm doing. That would be really cool. That'd be fun to collaborate.
Of course. Absolutely. You're more than welcome to film me cooking you food, Sean. All right. Have a good one, man. Thank you so much, Sean.
Hey, God bless you guys, Sean.
God bless
Thank
you
you so
too,
much
man.
for having me on here. I really enjoyed
Thank you.
it. Thank you, guys.
Shawn,
you.
Shawn Stasiak, everyone.
Yeah,
Hell
Planet
yeah.
Stasiak.
Yes.
Yes.
All
So
right.
good.
Well, we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, Maria Menounos here. We want to let you know about my new show on SiriusXM Stars Channel 109. It's called Conversations with Maria, and it's live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Go to conversationswithmaria.com for more info. Buzz you later.
We're back here on X-Pac 12360. That was our interview with Dr. Shawn Stasiak.
Doctor, such an amazing guy.
Yeah, a lot of really cool like things that we talked about that just aren't, your typical wrestling things. I mean, we could have talked about who, favorite opponent and, favorite match, all that. But, man, I really enjoyed just talking about, like, real life things, like, and having it mixed with the wrestling.
Yeah.
I hope you all, like, listening and watching enjoy it, too, man.
I can talk to him just about spiritual stuff for an hour alone.
Yeah, and a lot of that just seems kind of crazy when it's just touched on, briefly, like we were, because that's a whole different kind of show.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, there's really a lot to that, man. I really truly believe that, and a lot of people out there listening have had things, have experienced
people that
these
believe
things.
and have those experiences.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I was listening to him and talk about the pennies, I know Fern, who's a host here, she wrote a book, Better in the Morning, and her book is about how her grandparents guided her through life after they passed on, and one of the things is like anytime she sees a penny on the ground, that's her grandpa's way of being like, hey, I'm with you.
And for those that don't believe in that kind of thing, or whatever, it doesn't
teach you.
It doesn't offend me. Like even if you think I'm not,
you're a psycho.
It doesn't offend me. I get it. I understand. You just haven't experienced these things yourself.
It's noticing them. Like they're there. You just have to pick them up.
They're always
catch
there.
on them.
It's not even beyond the spiritual side of it. It's just taking those experiences that happened in life and applying it to something positive aside, other than harping on it and letting that eat you, and then there's nothing after that.
That's right.
So, I mean, definitely like very motivational.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Shawn, again. And before we go, I just talk about,
well, we got Get High Watch Wrestling coming up.
Get High Watch Wrestling.
May 26th at Cinefamily.
That's right. And I just want to thank Doug Benson for having me on the show earlier today. And it's called Get Doug with High.
Is that going to air today?
Yeah, it's already on iTunes.
Awesome.
Man.
You're a very popular guy.
Yeah, Ron and I were there. And Chris, man, I hope he's not listening. Anyways, yeah, I had a great time on there. I had a great time. It was fun.
Good
it was
stuff.
Fun. Yeah, and Doug, Doug, I don't think he'll be at this next one, but he's coming and he's going to do one of the future.
One of the next ones.
I want to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, you please come. I hope you're coming.
I can. I'm gonna be at
yeah,
the
but we're
CrossFit
going to
Games.
change. We're going to change the date after this to like a Wednesday or Thursday, so more people will be able to come. Because a lot of my friends are wrestling and are doing
out
shows
of town
somewhere.
and doing other
Fridays,
things.
Saturdays. So
hard to get booked that
all
day.
right, well,
Big money makers.
So that's pretty much it, man. And you guys have already seen or heard the polygraph segment that we aired or that we recorded before we did the interview with Shawn. And I know I'm telling the truth, and I hope this, people that, and like I said, I understand people not buying my story, but I hope this helps them a little bit more when it comes to that. I know I got kind of emotional at the end just because I knew, I know I'm telling the truth, and this is really like I've been kind of not selling it like wrestling terminology, but man, this is a pretty heavy thing I've been accused of.
Of course, after all your hard work to get out of the darkness.
Yes.
Something trying to pull you back in that could easily just ruin everything you've worked so hard for.
And so I'm not lying, and I hope somebody else was just mistaken and they're not lying as well. That's all I can say about it. And I just hope, I'm positive this is going to be, I have a hard time believing that it's going to end up in a courtroom at all. Yes. At all. So, all right. That's enough for this week. Yeah. And thank you, TK. Thank you, Jimbo. And thank you, Mark. Thank you all so much. Yeah. And thank you, everybody listening and watching at home. See you next week right here on X-Pac 12360.
Ciao.
AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Jimbo Frank and TK Trinidad, managing producer of AfterBuzz TV Wrestling Mark Donica, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter @TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com. This has been a presentation of the AfterBuzz TV Network. Buzz ya later!